Episode 3, It's Not Brain Science. Bobbing along on the Atlantic Ocean like some puny piece of flotsam has given me time to indulge in a little philosophy. For some reason I'm reminded not only of the frailty of human beings but also of the amazing nature of our brains. The stupidity of clever people never ceases to amaze me. Homo sapiens comes in all shapes and sizes, and so does intelligence. It's just that some of us are more sapient than others. Being clever has little to do with your brain capacity. We generally have loads of brain space to spare. No, it's the connections we make that make us smart. Connections between different parts of our brain and between lots of different bits of information. I have been lucky enough to have worked with some of the leading experts on intelligence, even if my role was little more than the idiot dog that fetched the newspaper. But at least I managed not to slobber all over their academic articles. Even that, I can't guarantee to do drool-free now, which is in itself academic, as my own brain has long since turned to porridge. Still, I am hopeful that some of it has rubbed off on me, knowledge on intelligence that is, not porridge or saliva. My latest theory is a good example of the no visible support model. It comes from the University of Life and the College of Crap. The theory divides everyone who has a healthy and undamaged brain into 5 categories of intelligence. Here they are in no particular order. Narrow but deep, most musical virtuosi fall into this category, although they may have been shoved by pushy parents. The same applies to Nobel laureates, elite athletes and more. The fast pace of progress in every field of human endeavor has led to the increase in super specialists, like the tennis player in his 20s whose response to the adulation following his first Grand Slam title was to say that he had devoted his whole life to winning these matches, as if that was a good thing, as if fame and money somehow compensated for missing out on your childhood. Nice to see that Dr. Faustus is still here, at least in spirit. It is hard to tell if these over-sharpened pencils would have been good at other things, like growing up. They will never find out, like the advert says, when it's gone, and no amount of wealth or fame can bring it back. Ask Michael Jackson. Another example of departed narrow but deeps is the Reverend Dr. Spooner, the archetypal absent-minded professor, head in the clouds, feet in the dog shit. Most of the sayings attributed to him are bogus, products of his students' wicked imaginations. But I like to think this one is true. At a college sherry party, Spooner espies a student who looks familiar. "Tell me," he says, "was it you or your brother who died in the war?" If you think that example of the narrowness of academia is exaggerated or a thing of the past, you would be wrong. The year after diagnosis, I was looking for a research project which used virtual reality technology to benefit people locked in by diseases such as MND. The plan was that I would help in a private capacity by writing bids for funding and the academics would do the research. What could possibly go wrong? I was invited by a Midlands university to a meeting and we were happily discussing collaboration when the door burst open and a most peculiar woman bustled in. She was dishevelled in appearance, as if she'd dressed in the dark several days ago and her daily commute had taken her through a number of hedges backwards. She steadfastly avoided any eye contact with anyone as she read out a technical summary of a piece of research started several years earlier which was now clearly her life's work. It slowly emerged that they were looking for funding to continue her magnum opus. I was being ambushed. Well, okay, I thought, let's hear her out. Not that there was much choice. When she suddenly stopped, there was a discussion, led by the eminently bearded professor, of the impeccable methodology of the project. I cautiously added my praise and then said, "Well, if I were to help you find funding." "What do you mean if?" shrieked Ms. Head backwards, before storming out, closely followed by the hirsute prof, who returned briefly for an icy farewell. And the reason for my caution, the research can be summed up as follows. 1. Finding a pair of identical twins whose synchronicity bordered on the psychic. This had already been done. Brothers living in a village in Croatia, not 20 miles from the researcher's hometown. 2. Spending the 4 summer months every year observing the telepathic twins, learning how to communicate by using 2 virtual reality headsets, by drawing the shapes of letters of the alphabet with their eyes and transmitting the image to their twin. You may want to revisit that sentence to make sure it doesn't make the sort of sense you thought it didn't. Well, over 3 years, the research had yielded remarkable results in 2 letters of the alphabet. I'll leave you to do the maths. 3. Testing the hypothesis against results from other monozygotic research subjects who use different alphabets. 4. Publishing papers in peer-reviewed journals to advance knowledge and form the basis of future research. We could all pick holes in the plan. But the obvious question is, how the hell could anyone actually use the research? You would need thousands of pounds worth of kit and an inexhaustible supply of identical twins. And you'd still be none the wiser. Now that's what I call narrow but deep. The next category is shallow but broad. This type of intelligence is much easier to explain. It is the man down the pub. It doesn't have to be a man. Other sexes are available. This has nothing to do with pub quizzes, although he might try to take part, with variable results. He is the chap who finds out what you are likely to know, then drones on about something else. He can bore for England on a wide range of topics: the colour of altar cloths for harvest supper, the secrets of world peace, the significance of sourdough bread in medieval history, that sort of thing. He is like a reverse Google, telling you everything you didn't want to know about things you never wanted to know about. So he appears to be on firm ground, but he is dancing round the rim of an active volcano, and if you challenge him, you will soon smell his burning soul. The next and third category is broad and deep. Someone once described Jonathan Miller as too clever by 3/4. If you've never heard of him, that rather makes my point for me. He may have been a multifaceted genius, but he has made little impression on our consciousness. But what about Archimedes, Leonardo da Vinci, Stephen Fry? Well, okay, not Stephen Fry. What about the truly broad and deep, many of whom have risen to total obscurity? Games and conversation may be the only outlets for their prodigious talents. Who needs a polymath when they've got an Apple Mac? The penultimate category is no discernible input or output. No need to define this one, we all know them. I'm not there yet, but I'm working on it. Sly, low, cunning is my final category. This is a surprisingly useful type of intelligence to have. There's no need for anything else if you can combine the craftiness of a fox, the morals of a hyena, the self-belief of Narcissus, and the indestructibility of a cockroach. Well, now that is all of the categories. Although there are those that are none of the above, I have not counted this as a type of intelligence, even though it covers a lot of people, but they are deeply average. Enough said. More about cunning and big heads when we finally reach our first transatlantic port of call. I am sorry we have been stuck on the good ship Hellas No Fury for far too long. Time for some Caribbean sunshine.